Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening around the world. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Blackjack. As always, today we'll be doing a deck tech. If you're interested in having me put a deck together for you, I'm looking for any of the 5 metrics in the comment section below. A bracket, a budget, a theme, a commander, and any pet cards you might have. So if you're interested, leave a comment and I'll make a video for you. Today we're doing a video for a deck that I had some personal interest in, the Jolly Balloon Man. It is a red, white, and a colorless for a 1/4 with haste. You can pay 1 and tap it to create a token that's a copy of another creature you control. It's a 1/1 red balloon in addition to its other types. It has flying and haste, and you sack it at the beginning of the next end step. So, there's obviously a lot of ways to abuse this commander. You can scale this up and down fairly easily based on your budget and your intentions. If you're looking to combo out as fast as possible, you could easily do that. If you're looking to bring it down a notch to bracket 2 and just play a happy-go-lucky, everybody has a good time, enter the battlefield effect type deck, you can do that as well. I'm kind of somewhere in between. I do have 3 game changers to make it bracket 3, and I do have the ability to combo, but with most of my decks, I allow myself to play the cards that can combo. I just don't choose to tutor for them or actively play them if they're in my hand, unless the game is dragged out to a state where everybody's just bored and ready to move on. But let's get started. So, a lot of the stuff that I have is enter the battlefield effects. There's a ton of really good creatures that interact well with the Jolly Balloon Man. It was important to me that I condensed it to creatures that had a great impact on the board or the ability to help me with card advantage, stuff like that. Not just big beaters or not just little one-off, one damage effects. Start with Argus Costs. So whenever he becomes the target of an ability, you may pay 2 to copy it for each other creature. So it's going to make a bunch of balloons and copy all the creatures with Jolly Balloon Man. Ao as well as Atsushi. Both of them have abilities when they die. This one can make treasures or exile cards, and then this one can look at the top 7 to grab stuff or give counters. Beza does everything. I'm not going to read all of it, but obviously being able to do effects like this every single turn by creating a balloon version of them and then having them die or having them enter is the name of the game here. Combat Celebrant has the ability to untap the Jolly Balloon Man. Delny will double most of these triggers with the Jolly Balloon Man, which is insane. Elish Norn, obviously crazy, doubling enter the battlefield the triggers as well as canceling all of your opponents. Enduring Innocence for card draw. We have Awin. When it enters the battlefield, we get to exile a creature with greater power, so it's a free Swords to Plowshares. Eartha, it copies abilities. Felidar can untap Inferno Titan, as well as Overlord of the Boiler whatever. Does damage when it enters and it attacks, so it's a cool way to control the board over time. And the other thing I'll mention with this deck is, obviously, you're looking at Mondrak and Oger. If you can double tokens, this deck goes even crazier. I could have put, 6, 7 token doublers in here and went absolutely maximum power. I didn't want to do that. I'm just playing these two because they're also creatures. So thematically it made sense to me, but you could easily play more of them. In addition to that, Inferno Titan, just like Sun Titan, just like all the Titans, anytime I can find an excuse to put them in a commander deck, I will, because they're nostalgic for me. Karmic Guide brings stuff back. Lorna the Third Path can draw cards or take out artifacts and enchantments. Mentor of the Meek's more card draw. Rumor Gatherers card draw. Skyclave exile stuff. Solemn will give us card draw as well as ramp. Sun Titan we went over. Village Bell Rainer can go absolutely insane. Welcoming Vampires, more card draw. This guy can destroy an artifact or enchantment as well as the Witch Enchanter. And then we have Worm Coil as a giant endgame payoff. Obviously, once it dies as a balloon, it will still create those 2/3/3 worms, one with Death Touch, one with Lifelink. And then Zealous Conscripts can allow us to steal stuff, and then we can do that obviously over and over. So again, there's a ton of different ways to build this, and there's a lot of um, ideas that you can go with when you're assembling your creature suite, but I wanted mine to basically give me advantage or be able to help me control the board in some way and not just be little painters or one-off card draw. There's a lot of creatures that say when this enter the battlefield, draw a card and gain a life, something like that. That wasn't quite good enough for me. I'm playing stuff like Mentor of the Meek and Rumor Gatherer, so it's consistent every turn, and I don't have to allocate mana for it. Sorcery is just a couple: Blasphemous Act, Dust, Dawn, and Fell the Mighty. So more often than not, the only creatures you're really concerned about surviving is Jolly Balloon Man. I would say do not overplay your hand onto the board. The creatures are so impactful that we're playing. I think realistically, if you have Jolly Balloon Man and then maybe one or two other creatures, your board is going to be dangerous enough and worthy enough of dealing with that you should not be committing your entire hand. Save that for after the board wipes, you can rebuild. But Dust On and Fell the Mighty give you a little bit more say in how the board gets wiped and the purpose you're wiping it for. Twin Flame is combo-tastic with a bunch of stuff. Notably, Kiki Jiki is missing from this list. Again, I didn't want to go too crazy into the realm of combo, but obviously you could add that and go nuts with Felidar Guardian. You could go infinite with a lot of this stuff, to be honest. Instance, so a lot of these are an attempt to make sure our board doesn't get messed with too much. You're looking at Dawn's Truce, Deflecting Swap, Flawless Maneuver, Restoration Magic, Rootborn Defenses, Teferi's Protection. All this is just to make sure that our board does not get wiped. We also have Path to Exile and Swords to Plowshares as a little bit of removal for us. We don't have a ton of creature removal up here, but pretty much everything else when it comes to artifacts and enchantments, we can handle that with most of our creatures. You do have a little bit when it comes to like Skyclave Apparition, but we do still need to have some answers that are instant speed and consistent. Valakut Awakening for some more card draw. Excuse me. And then finally Wear and Tear for the rate. It's very, very good. 3 mana, destroy 2 things. It's a 2 for 1. No reason not to play it. Artifacts, let's get the ramp out of the way. Arcane Signet, Boros Signet, Felwar Stone, Fire Diamond, Liquimetal Torque, Marble Diamond, Mind Stone, Soul Rain, Talisman of Conviction, Thought Vessel, 10 up, 10 down, always consistent, always play at least 10 ramp pieces, unless your commander is very specific and it's not necessary. This will make your game plan much more consistent and you're going to have a lot more fun. Couple of pieces for sacrificing, so we have Ashnod's Altar to make some mana with the Jolly Balloon Man sacrifices. We can be a little bit more proactive with them instead of just letting them go. Idol of Oblivion is going to be card draw using our commander. Skull Clamp, obvious, card draw, great in a deck like this. Being able to make that 1/1 balloon and then Skull Clamp it to draw 2 and then get its die effect or whatever other effect it had going. You know, if you put a Worm Coil Engine balloon and then sack it to draw 2 and then make a 3/3 lifelink and Death Touch Worm, that's obviously going to be pretty advantageous for you. Staff of the Storyteller is another way to draw cards based on the amount of tokens we're making. Sundial the Infinite's pretty cool, so if you make stuff with the Jolly Balloon Man once the Jolly Balloon Man's trigger goes on the stack to sacrifice the balloons, you can actually activate Sundial the Infinite to end the turn and you'll keep those balloons permanently. Enchantments, Caretaker's Talent, more card draw based on tokens. Tokusai's Welcome and Trouble in Pairs are also going to be more consistent card draw. The only way a deck like this really gets overrun is if you overcommit too much of your hand to the board, it gets board wiped and then you run out of stuff to do. So being able to have creatures that are worthy of being board wiped when you're only committing 2 or 3, and then in addition to that, being able to refill your hand is going to allow you to keep churning and burning and play a longer game. Last but not least, pretty obviously, Smothering Tithe, great card in here. When we look at the lands, nothing to note. As always, just play the lands that you have that available to you when it comes to a 2-color deck. It does not take very much to have it up and running. You can look at the list that I have here. Obviously, things like War Room, Slayer Stronghold, Menace are all awesome, but overall, none of this is really necessary. So that's it. Just an awesome engine deck, one that I've had a lot of interest in, and if no one else in my playgroup puts it together, I probably eventually will, just to see how it plays out. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Godspeed.